Hi guys, this is Jiggy Juice and I am with architect Edwin San Nicolas. Mayong adlaw ni mo diya, sir.
Maayong adlaw sad Sir Jiggy.
Before we start this conversation, can you give us a bit of a background? Kinsa man ni si architect Edwin San Nicolas? Please introduce yourself to the world.
Ah, di ba ang nag-introduce man ko sa akong katong post murag nag-viral man kadali ang akong post nga kon. I'm an architect by profession and tugatugahon man ta active ko sa Philippine Institute of Architects and the United Architects of the Philippines. Mag-leader man sa ta. No? So I was president several times sa Cebu section sa Philippine Institute of Architects and sa United Architects of the Philippines Leon Kilat chapter. And yeah, gi-submit nila akong credential this year and I was also given the kanang recognition as one of the 50 kanang distinguished architects of District C1. Kanang District C1 is Cebu, I believe it's Cebu, Bohol, Siquijor, and I think Dumaguete.
Wow, congratulations.
But you know, I'm happy that they recognize my contribution to the design or architectural in the community. So yeah, that's me, and I'm one of the EV Titos. I think you believe you know that ako si Ryan og si Kwan because we're advocate of green movement sa Kwan. I don't know ni-convert na ba ka to EV?
Gamay lang kuwang.
Gamay na lang kuwang kanang Kwan at tiguman na lang yun ang kanang Kwan. So yeah, we're really concerned of not really concerned, but we're advocating for green Kwan ba. That's why hindi come up na sa ng EV Tito. So ang design is we're looking into that. If you look at my house, we're in my house where the roof deck. Our roof here is solar panels na siya. I have a 16 kilowatt quantity. Unfortunately, akong rainwater tank behind this, naana siya rainwater tank pag linog, nagtanga-tanga nga architect ako man tong gipatong siya og kuan nga wa na ko gi-welding ba kay nagsaligra ko. Kanang rainwater tank because of my consciousness of being green in my house. That collecting tank supplies water to my anidoro, my water closets. So every time I flush my kwan, it's actually rainwater. So all my toilets karon naguba, natumba siya pag kanang katong
So
recent.
you're an advocate for greener Cebu. The reason why kita ta karong adlaw sir is because of the post that you made that created a firestorm on social media. Can you
Firestorm na din.
can you explain to our viewers, sir, what exactly were you talking about in that particular post?
No, I think I explained it well sa murag sa akong post nga tungod manggod sa diba in the national tibok the whole country is talking about the flood control anomalies, ghost projects, diba? Flood control mo ito. And it happened diri sa to ang we had this flooding because of the typhoon. And everybody was talking about blaming the government nga substandard flood control projects, ghost projects. In fact, sa start nako kinsa ng mga nag-make og noise padayon. Make some noise about it kanang mga ghost projects. Let's investigate. Ato ginupangitaon what's the truth. Ug naa ba gi ghost projects and who's responsible. But sa akong post, it's not just the flood control projects nga either ghost or substandard. It goes beyond the flood control projects. Kay sa planning na to sa Cebu, I think that's the crucial part nga we have to look into. Yun. Kay the flooding, bisag unsaon pa nimo nindot og flood control project, og wa na siya ni kanang align ba sa master plan, gubon gyud gyapon na kay nature strikes ka na o moingon ka grabe gyud ba mo igo mo bawas gyud ang nature kung moagi man gud ang tubig where it's supposed to agi, di ba? So,
Water always goes down, di ba?
yeah.
We have been a city for a long, long time. How many decades are we old? Dugay na ta nga syudad.
I just learned that there was naalam ko kay istorya ganina nga attorney. Bag-o lang ko ibaw nga there was a Cebu plan way back 1800s. And then
Mo lagi so ang pangutana ni sir.
Cebu
My
plan,
next
and then-
question is this. Dugay na kay ta nga syudad sa Sugbo. Dugay na kaayo tang typhoon prone country, di ba? Not just Cebu, the whole entire country of the Philippines is a typhoon prone country. That's part of who we are as a people. We know nga naagi typhoon sumaabot karong mga Burmans, padung ang typhoon and so on and so forth. So we plan accordingly. Naunsa man ang pag-unsa sir nga murag wa man ta gihapon naka-learn sa atong mga typhoons of the past. Daghang kay tag mga earth-shaking typhoons katong Ruping, panahon pang Mampur to dugay na kay tanan, na tay bag-o lang gyud nga Odette and so on and so forth. Murag nganong di mata makat-on sir, nganong di mata makahinumdum. Is this part of our character also nga kalimtanon o unsa man gyud sir nganong man nga di man gyud ta maka andam sa mga butang sama ni aning Typhoon Tino and now one in Luzon?
Siguro sa ato ang pagka it's either ningas kugon or kuan nga attitude bitaw kana bang we start something and then buto ra bitaw na din ha kung dili kung mag-uwan kung way uwan di mo na buto di ba? So but it's a sad reality but I would want to believe the government is doing something about it. It just so happened that kung say term Sir Jigs, the bureaucracy or the red tapes in government is so complicated ang kuan nga dugay kay ma-implement ang projects. As I mentioned earlier, kanang katong nagkuwanta sa kanang mambaling nga katong kuan bitaw. Moingon ka nga multi-million project. Unya, it created a monstrous traffic at that time during construction. Is it even relevant? Nabagyo na siya kuan. Karon we can feel nga okay man nagamit man gyud na siya. But is it as effective kung gi-implement na siya way back when it was designed? We really don't. When it was designed, the numbers that the designers, the architects, the engineers who made the plans, they were basing on this kind of data that they have. Say 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And then they projected another 10, 15 years ahead. Unfortunately, the government works pag-approve sa project, technical plans are done a year or two at the most. So, 2 years na nanilapse. There's a proposed budget. It's allocated. Na-approve ang proposed kanang budget, maybe another year or two. And then appropriation, another so many years, whatever. And then releasing. So, it probably will take 7-8 years before the budget is
midway into your explanation, sir, you lost me na sir. Nawagtang na ko sa ano ko nakasubay, sir. You lost me in the forest. So suffice it to say, medyo complicated yung gaya ni ang gobyerno, di ba?
Ang pag conceptualize and pag-implement, dako kay ang chance nga pag-implement ani nga project karon dili na ni siya as relevant when it was conceptualized.
Because I think when it comes to nature and our man-made projects, you make projections based on the numbers at that time, and if you delay it by a few days, few weeks, few months, few years, then the numbers are different and you will have to overhaul the entire proposal.
Yes.
Sir, we just got hit badly by the Typhoon Tino, di ba? Can you give us your diagnosis, sir, of what happened to Cebu? In particular, what happened in Butuanon River, in Mananga, in Liloan? Unsa may general diagnosis ng sir na unsa man ang pag-unsa sa nganong nahitabo man to ang nangahitabo?
I don't have the exact data, but this is my personal kuan lang looking at the kana mga drone shots nga mga kuan. Number one, ang atong bukid upaw na. No? So maybe the study, the data that was used was gamay ang water runoff towards those natural waterways. So since gamay ang kuan, the design of the the waterway is adequate for that number. Now further developments kay gi-allow nga ris ibabaw ang mga developments. So ang water retention gamay na sad. So mas dako ang runoff. Now the design of that waterway that leads to the sea is no longer adequate to receive the volume of water. So yeah, going back to my nga ang project nga pag-implement dili ni siya as relevant as it was designed for.
Pero when you design a project ba, especially if it's a long-term infrastructure project like a waterway or a canal or whatever, kanang flood control project, don't you design it not just for the needs of the time but the needs of the future,
Definitely.
supposedly?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I made mention in my katong post na ko nga we did a pro bono kuan sa Balamban katong ilahang comprehensive land use plan. During the time, ang mandate sa government was to make 10-year plan. That was the usual. So, the projection when the study was made is a 10-year kuan. So, that answers the kuan nimo nga og pananglitan na a project na ana siya minimum number of years. So, it's up to the proponent now whether you'll just stick with the minimum mandated number of years or you go beyond. So,
So you mean to say the project can be implemented within a 10-year window? Is that what you're saying?
No. It's not the implementation. It's the projection.
The numbers.
Yes, the projection of, okay, from 1990, we have this population. So we designed it, okay, si Chunishi, what's the name of that shipbuilding diha? Chunishi. Mao na iyang kuan. So, projection was since daghan ang trabaho na dinha mo dako ang residential area sa kuan. So the projection was in 10 years time ang residential area should be this big and mao ni atong i-regulate. That's a 10-year projection. Pero part of the study was on the 8th year, I believe in the 8th year or 7th year, it has to be revisited because we'll never know if our projection when we made a study on that particular year would still be relevant after 7 years. So kinahanglan ni sad nimo i-revisit kay basig among projection nga 20% ra for example ang increase nahimong 40%. So similarly, ang kining mga gipang project gipang buhat nilang sapa. Let's say nag-study sila 2010 or let's say kuan lang nga numbers na 2000 mao ni ang volume of water projection nato ni double from 50 millimeter nga rainfall at a given time. Fast forward from 2000 to 2015 for example, i-double na to 100 millimeter. Mao nang let's say mao na gigamit nga number sa designer. So mao na siya ang i-design sa nimo kay magkwenta man nimo ang volume. Length times width times
Those numbers, population, infrastructure, condominiums or houses built, and so on and so forth, can be projected with a certain degree of accuracy. Not 100%.
Yes,
but nagid siya gamay nga kaning pag-accurate ba. So, in terms of projection, kaning dili man siguro ta kayo lihas layo sa ato ang na project nga numbers, right?
I really couldn't say with certainty kay murag paspas yun kayo ato ang development. I'm not sure kung it's within the projection. You can see the sprawl of development is really fast. Kay ang atong projection, atong population has grown so much.
Sir, the two sectors here that are very relevant to this conversation right now is the private sector and the government or the public sector, di ba? Naghisgot ta ganiha during our off-cam interview is ang problema nato is ang gikusgon ang speed in which the private sector develops is so much faster and quicker compared to the government. Medyo, as we all know, governments are really slow. They're notorious for being slow. We have not done anything to solve that problem yet. We've tried many times. Many politicians have tried, but I don't know where we are now in terms of speed. Suffice it to say, ang gobyerno hinay yun, ang private sector kusog yun. Ang atong problema sa sakto ba ato ang diagnosis ganiha sir, and I want us to talk about it na in front of the camera. Sakto ba nga ang private sector kung mo develop sila kusog kayo niya ang gobyerno dili makaapas. So mo nang magka-problema ta. Can you illuminate that particular kaning difference sir between the speed in which the private sector develops and the government is always playing catch up?
I don't have a certain murag data to base, no, pero in fairness to Slater Young, it's not that I'm medyo kuan magayro, no. Kani ako lang yung example ba. I would want to believe that the designers there have nindot. I haven't seen the actual plans, but mura mga general kuan lang kanang ilang water retention and ilahang flood control kuan nga ang runoff padong sa ubos is ma-minimize. The problem is ang mudawat nga facility or infrastructure is kulang na siya kay karaan man ang ato ang drainage system, no, bisag unsa pa ka modern to si babaw og missing ni ang connect, di ba? That's where government should have come in. So pag-develop, paghatag unta sa proposal, this is my own out of kuan karon when you ask, is siguro when they submitted for approval for that project, guwapo man ang ilang engineering, unya ang mudawat diri ang gobyerno naman mo kuan, and then wala may project ang gobyerno ana, wala sila ipundo to kuan, probably the private and the government could have maybe kanang strike a deal ba? Okay, multi-billion man ang imuhang project din na. Can you do the kuan nga mudawat nimo padong diri sa ubos? I-advance lang una and will it could be a kuan. It could be a kanang.
So mo na example nimo sa atong hisugdan ganiya nga ang difference between the speed in which the private sector builds in this case katong kang Slater Young Monterrazas project and the government catching up with such projects, di ba? So I'm sure you've noticed sir, just like your post kaning kang Slater Young project po is also again getting a lot of attention asad. Is the public kaning correct in sort of putting the blame on that particular project nganong nagbaha ta diri sa Cebu? Ngano man na sir, nganong siya man ang gipasanginlan?
It's a yes and no.
Okay.
It's a yes because walay mudawat, as I've said, walay mudawat
Sa tubig.
sa tubig downstream.
Okay.
No, because as I've said again, I would want to believe that the design, the engineering side of it is adequate. Di man sana sila pataka siguro og design, no. But that's the kwan nga dili magtugma. Wala magtugma somewhere sa implementation. Kay wa may mudawat. So I'd like to urge the public also nga hinay-hinay lang. Ayaw lang sad kanang palabi, but just like any development, eventually kung nindot raon ta ang mudawat dito, kanang makita nato sa video nga kanang nag-run off nga kanang medyo lapok nga kon. Natural man na kay bisan gani kanang ordinaryo nga construction ug mag-uwan, maglapok din ha, moawas nga to sa neighboring kwan. Normal man na siya, but by the time mahuman ang project, dili naman na siya man kay it's incorporated in the whole plan those mitigating measures to avoid flooding your neighbor, di ba? But the thing is, with these big developments, you make those mitigating measures, pero mo lagi inadequate ang mudawat diri, which I don't know who takes care of that. I'm also asking that. Kinsa man ang mukuan ana? Is it the private sector or is it the government?
Ang atong problema is the speed in which the private sector develops and the slowness of the government. Like you mentioned earlier, red tape and bureaucracy. Murag mo ginay maka slow down sa sa gobyerno.
Siguro si ang atong current mayor nga to. Man, he's an engineer and
Yeah. And he's pagyud considered to be an environmentalist
Yes.
mayor, di ba?
Siguro
So
I feel him.
So sir, unsaon man nato how do we begin to think about it? Kay I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, I don't know anything about geology or in terms of kaning how the water behaves and all of that stuff. So ako naglibog nagali ko nga kaning ang ako ang understanding is very taphaw ra gid ba, like a regular citizen ba. So ikaw sir, you being an architect and I know nga you also talk to a lot of engineers and all of that stuff. How does a regular person begin to think about our flood problem here in the city?
Okay, I'd like to advocate lang sa and tell everyone, especially those living in the city. Number one, ayaw mo pataka og labay sa inyong basura. Kay ang drainage system is already silted, number one. Kunya butangan pa nato og plastic. That's compounds the problem. Diba? Now, to understand as an ordinary kanang mulupyo din sa Cebu. Siguro let's try to help sa like in the barangay level, police the kanang our surroundings. In my post naka-mention ko akong question, how come it's part of Butuanon River ba ang kuan? Ang kanang katong dito sa Talamban. I think it's part of Butuanon River, no? Nga kanang ang river banks ang kanang na ay riprap nga katong na kuanan nila gibuhatan og balay. Mao man tong na ano, di ba? By law, there's supposed to be no build zone so many meters from the edge of that riverbank.
Simply because it's dangerous, right?
Yes. That's by law. It's illegal. Unfortunately, ang atong barangay kuan, syaro naman sa di sila kakita ang nanay nagsugod og tukod. Uy. Di ba? It's nganong di ba sila kabadlong ug ako nakakita ko. I'll give you a perfect example. I was privileged to have a pass when that Marcelo Fernan was done. Nga wa pa na siya na open sa public. Na ako'y pass kay na ako'y project sa kuan. I was helping somewhere in that project. Na ako'y pass nga mokaagi nako, the public wasn't using that bridge yet. And sa sige na kong agi ngadto once or twice a week. Nakakita na ko right on the Mactan. Uy, na may nagtukod nito. So I told somebody nga taga Lapu-Lapu council, a friend of a Lapu-Lapu councilor nga kuan. Uy, tanawa to nanay nagtukod. Syaro naman sir ako, an ordinary architect, na ako'y pass, nga makaagi ko nakakita ko ato. Ay ko na mga councilor, wa mo agi din ha, wa kakita ato. Diba? These things are what's adding to the deficiency, if the right word is deficient nga planning ba.
Sir, pero kung ikaw government official ka ng lugar unya imo ang tanaw na niya kay problema na siya kay nag-build siya sa under the bridge. Sakto ba ko under the bridge?
Dito sa
kilid sa bridge. Ang iyang pagtanaw po na nga naay usa ka pamilya o pipila ka pamilya nga nakabay na in town. Nga nanas lay mapuy-an. So
why build in that area?
Kay free man. Kaning may tagiya ng yuta.
You're as an individual, your freedom somehow stops when you are being illegal.
Correct. I understand. But what I'm saying I'm trying to rationalize the behavior ba.
Sa kanitaong mga pobre.
Kanitaong di sila nasa napuyan, onya live there at your own risk.
That's the role of government. I think the government should have a program to somehow accommodate these people without the hazard, without mura ba dili madaot ang ato ang master plan nga okay mauni atong sapa magguba man og pananglitan na mahimo na mapunan mapuy-an na dinha magguba man tong the general plan ba the macro kuan. So they should somehow go back to the main purpose or the concept nganong giplano na ngayon ana why there is such a law gi-create na nga law nga illegal na nga kuan. So I don't know.
You know, the thing with nature is that what happens here in Mabolo happens in Guadalupe. What happens in Guadalupe happens in Manila. What happens in Manila happens in Tokyo. I mean, nature is everywhere. We're breathing the same air here in Mabolo as in New York, di ba?
Yeah.
This is we live in one planet. So everything's interconnected. Unya ang ato ang isla sa Cebu, dili lang sa siyudad sa Sugbo, Tibok Island of Cebu, must have a kind of master plan, right? Sa imong nibawan, sir, medyo dugay-dugay na maganda nga nasod as a republic, right? Gihatag sa mga Amerikano nato ang ato ang nasod, di ba? Kaning tanaw nimo naabgyud tay semblance of a master plan here. Ato lang hisgutan ng Cebu. Unsa man atong mga plano sa atong syudad, sir? Sa imong mahinumduman or mahibawan?
Sa akong mahinumduman, when I got involved in the 1980s, kining atong pagkatug-atugahon nga mo lingkod ta sa kuan. No. There is a master plan. As far as I can remember, during the time of Lito Osmeña, they call it katong Maklots, I think a Maklots plan which created the MCDP plan. Ako mahinumduman ato, kining ato ang dan, mao man ato, di ba? South Highway man na din na. Murag gitawagin na to highway going to the south. Nga kanang in Bacalso, di ba? And then going to Danao, Sugod, that's another highway. That's our main artery, di ba? Agianan na to nga kwan. During the Maklots kwan, as far as I can remember, in the city, there is, in Cebu City in particular, there was a plan somewhere in the north, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Consolacion, nga naatay mountain, kana mo dagan dito, Guadalupe, ana niya musumpay na ngadto all the way to Talisay, I think, if not Minglanilla, I'm not so sure. That's the mountain road. Mura na pa ganito'y proposal nga og mo traverse sa Mandaue o sa Guadalupe. I'm not so sure, but I can remember that there was a proposal nga naa pa gani tunnel. Kay dili siya viable nga buhatan og daan ang bukid ba. So ikat na siya. That's part of the plan. And we have the coastal road which is right now kanang nabuhat na kanang sa SRP, apil na siya. Kana na siya nga kuan.
Kanang imong master plan nga gihisgutan nga 1980s pa, did it include a flood control plan also?
Yes, definitely. Na-mention ako sa kuan, I think late 1980s, appeal na siya kay when JICA made a study for that master plan, appeal man gyud ang drainage. Di man pwede road networks ra ang atong buhaton kay kato siya basis man to nga okay mao ni ang development, mao ni ang commercial area, this is the industrial area and things like that. So appeal gito.
So kanang master plan, sir, as by the terminology suggests, mo gini ang big plan, mo ni ang master plan. So all other plans that you are making should consider the master plan, di ba?
Yes.
So are we doing that? Is this city being built the way the master plan intended?
I would say so. Murag naninguha gid sad siguro ang atong city to kanang build according to katong sa master plan. But of course there again political will in some political accommodation in some developments nga there's a term namo sa mga architects nga inig submit namo sa OBO ba. What's the term? Variance. We call it variance. Like for example, in this zone supposed to be residential, but then the proponent wants to build a bodega, for example, and it's not, you're within residential zone, but your occupancy is bodega. So naana siya implication. Okay, residential yun ang area. But looking at the project, the proposed project, pwede siya with limitation. Naasa na siya sa katong regulation and ordinances sa city or municipality nga okay, you're allowed apply for a variance, and once you apply for a variance there are conditions nga kuan. So it's a legal accommodation, and some are probably dili sa legal nga accommodation, and that somehow probably would have deviated from the master plan. Now, how massive that is, I don't know. Kay medyo na makakita mo kitag flooding.
It could be just a minor accommodation, a minor variance, pero kung imo nang kaninga i-add up from the 80s until now, medyo dako na kay ng variance, di ba?
Here's a one. We're in Mabolo. This is Cafe Alde. Right after this, if you remember, there were kato mga kabilya bitaw din ha, di ba?
There was a big construction there that
Yes.
was stopped, right?
Yes.
Ngano mo siya?
Right
Magahugno mo ko na to.
No.
Which one?
Right behind that development was a creek.
Okay.
And I didn't see the plan, but this is how I see it, because we had flooding. I had flooding up to chest deep here in my house.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good thing ako mga sakyanan to sa ibabaw. Wala mo lutaw akong auto, but ako ang refrigerator, lutaw akong piano, lutaw kay. And we found out, and during that time the LTO head was living there. They had to carry their mother nga dili na tiguang na. They had to carry their mother second floor. And when that project was investigated, murag na ato sila propose nga gipaliko ang ang creek ba isumpay diri sa atubangan ba. That's one perfect example of, and I don't know what happened nganong na-approve to. Siguro a variance was done, and looking at the numbers pwede. But you know, a certain runoff water dito sa ibabaw, dako kay ang volume ni pus nga, and moto flooded mi diri, and then pagbalik sa kuan, dili na nila makaya, the project was stopped and kana gidemolish.
So the flooding
That's one
flooding stopped.
Right now the flooding stopped.
So do you think that was the direct cause of the flooding,
would say-
the construction? Okay, what was it doing? It was blocking the creek.
It was blocking the creek.
Okay.
It was blocking the creek.
Okay.
Kay ila man gi-divert ang creek. Unya, dili naman tumao ang natural
So
waterway.
nagian to og medyo bagyo.
Wala ganito bagyo, sir.
Pero uwan lang ang normal.
Grabe itong uwan dito sa ibabaw.
Okay.
We were shocked nga kana siya nga daan, nahimo na siya sapa. Grabe gyud kayo, kusugid kayo ang.
So this is an example of an actual project nga
Yes.
nga na-approve o na disapprove na inoon kay kaning because of what happened. So nganong dili mas lamang ka project na nang dapita, nganong katong hisgot mong variance.
Okay, looking at it at the technical point of view, it could be that the data that they had, like the volume of water, was not the right data. Kay most likely ang ilang gibutang ang ilang solution, kay since nipus nga man, kuan gid siya, kanang inadequate gid siya. Now if they had the good numbers, probably wala sa to nagbaha. That's masolve man gud siya sa engineering side, but you know, it's only good based on whatever data you're basing it to.
And based on what we know about governments, that they're notoriously slow, especially ours, diba? It's been slow since I was little, and it's still slow now. And the speed in which the private sector develops, nagud siya dissonance, diba? Nagud siya kaning mag-apas gud pirmi ang gobyerno sa private sector. So I think it's also probably incumbent upon the private sector to also allow the government to catch up, and vice versa also, the government also to speed up a little para at least ba nga they'll meet in the middle ba. Yeah, I know I'm talking about it kaning murag isayon-sayon na nako, murag lumba na bitaw nga.
Easy for us to say.
I know, pero kaning is that possible? Is that possible nga somehow the speed of the private sector will be matched by the government and the speed of the government will be matched by the private sector somewhere in the middle? Is there a Goldilocks zone as we call it?
Again, I'm not a pessimistic guy. I think there could be, no? But we planners and those planners, great planners, Palafox, kinsa pa ng atong mga urban
I know.
planners.
I've heard of those mga brilliant boys, mga bright boys, diba niya? What's the point of inviting them kung dili na to gamito nilang mga ilang naibawan?
Look, since the 90s, I've attended conferences nga kanang
I'm an engineer, yeah.
Ang kwan yun is decongest. We can only contain so much. We can only contain so much. So the private sector should somehow think also nga, okay, sobra na sa di na to ibutang sa Cebu City ang development. Let's go to Naga.
Correct. The wheels of progress is unstoppable, they say. The wheels of commerce is unstoppable. Kaning ato ang pagprogreso as a nation, as a city is not going to be stopped by anyone individual, not even by government, right? Sir, are we headed off to a cliff? Kita naman ta sa nahitabo sa Liloan, sa Talisay ug sa Butuanon, sa Talamban, di ba nga medyo daghang kayong mga nagluta-lutong ang mga sakyanan, daghang kayong mga tao nga nangamatay, right? This is already a sneak peek of what could happen if the wheels of progress will not adjust or stop at the time of what nature requires, right? So akong pangutana diri sir is what is your prognosis looking ahead? Kanira bang bagyo dili ra ba ni ma-predict nato? Nara ba atoy bagyo nga padung sad nato Megeli murag nilihay ni ato Luzon. I don't know what's going on in Luzon now katong typhoon nga uwan. So dili na makaingon nga unya na siya. Next year na. The solutions have to be for the here and the now. So what's your prognosis, sir?
Not only the here and the now, but also in the future.
In the future also, but what I'm saying is we need to save lives now. You know, I mean, never mind. I mean, not never mind, but let's talk about the future lives that we will be saving. But the lives that we need to save now. And so, sir, like, how do you feel about what we should do as a nation, as a city?
Murag kuan kay lawm-lawm na siya nga question unsay atong buhaton.
Kaya ang gisuggest ni Jesse Baring katong river advocate nag-ingon siya nga evacuation na gyud. That's the only thing we can do in the short term. You have to evacuate people who are at risk.
Yeah, especially the risk-prone area. You have to kuan gyud, clear that area gyud. Kay number one, ug i-allow na nato sila dinha our rescue team ma-overwhelmed. Diba? Kay na kay imuhang Salbaruno na hinon daghan pag yun na sila. That's the first step. And then if pwede sad we slow down a little bit, revisit the plan ang atong expansion, and as we have been advocating as planners is i-spread na to ang development para kay wala overwhelmed man ang city. So I think that's the kwan siguro karon kanang murag immediate nato nga mabuhat. We have to slow down. If ever there are proposed projects nga naangato sa ibabaw, put a hold on those and see if the engineering works below can accommodate whatever you have up there. And on my second post, I would want to encourage, especially the young ones, let's go back to that dream of really green back. It will take so many years to plant trees up there.
Sir, ever since I was a kid, sige na kong tree planting. Antod karon like, unsa nam to ako mga tanom, no? Unsa kaning kita ram siguro gi. Does that actually work? Does tree planting actually work?
I would say it would work. Okay. We have data from different parts of the world that, you know, wa ba kakitaan ang kwan nga. I think there was a post nga a couple gihimo to nilang advocacy nga okay kini nga area let's reforest it, and then after 10-15 years the same couple showed the picture of kanang lush na kayo ang ilahang kuan. So it's if it was done, so there's no reason why it cannot be done.
You know, I began this clip with the line, the wheels of progress is unstoppable, and it's seemingly so. Not even the government can stop it. But also, ang dako kayo nga issue karon nga gihisgutan sa mga tao on social media, sa mga netizens is corruption, right? Kanang mga kurakot, sir. What do you think is its contribution to the disastrous events that happened during the wake of Typhoon Tino katong sa Liloan, sa Talisay, ug sa Butuanon, sa Talamban? Unsa may contribution na sir? Do you think the public is right to blame it solely on corruption, or what? How do you feel about that?
Personal opinion, I think everywhere in the world there is corruption. No, even the first world country, grabe naasa gyud sila ilahang deal of corruption. But there is a medyo garapalan man gyud, murag face to face ang kuano. So we cannot blame the public to kanang call on that kuan ba. But yeah. Siguro ang kuano lang yun nato sa corruption is to be vigilant as kita. And I don't know how the government would change the system nga monitor na siya og tarong ba kay di man gud kuan man gud ang monitoring system siguro. COA is basing kanang sa established kuan. Another example, sir, personal experience. Way back in 2004, I think 2003. I'm sorry, maybe ma-divulge sa ni siya nga kuan, but I was asked by a friend to help. You're familiar with Gawad Kalinga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very kuan. It started way back in 2000 na kuan. Gawad Kalinga was a private by the Couples for Christ. And then came the government, mga LGUs who rode on to the popularity, and of course there were parcels of land which were donated by the kuan kay maka-solve man to sa housing problem of the less fortunate. But when the government came in to help in the construction, siyempre kami kutob ra min sa pagbuhat sa plano sa kuan nga okay mao ni ang road network blah blah blah, and the engineering works nga mao ni ang dana to kabaga and etc. Sa construction, when we reviewed the kuan, ngano ang inyong simento tag 300 man nga makakuha man tag 100 pesos nga sako simento. Ang tubag sa taga gobyerno, sir, ayaw na hilabti architect kay kanang mao man nay naa sa blue book sa DP. What blue book? Apparently they have a price list nga standard nga gi-follow ang gobyerno. Probably it's because of protection also of price escalation. I don't know, maybe there's a wisdom to it. But the fact that during that project was done, a 100 peso bag of cement na sa ilang lista 300, and supposed to be it was given to the poor because this was Gawad Kalinga. It's just so unnerving. It's and kami on the
and to think it's supposed to be a kaning NGO, di ba? Kaning their task, their main task is to help.
Yeah, it was not the fault of the CFC or the Gawad Kalinga per se. Because gidawat naman na siya nga gidonate sa gobyerno. Di ba? Ang GK was kanang helping in the kuan lang nga okay ay ato ning i-house ang mga kuan, ang mga pobre. No? So that's those are, you were talking about corruption. That's one of those. And another sad thing about corruption nga goes down way down to the kuan kanang ordinaryong empleyado sa gobyerno. kay ang atong leader corrupt man. Can you imagine si GK, sir? Supposed to be mga pobre ang kuan. You've heard of Urban Poor Organization, di ba? These are NGOs. And then this is kuan by kanang the local government o asa na siya dapita nga. Supposed to be sila mo ay nag-identify kinsa ang papuy-on sa kining gihatag sa gawad kalinga kay na may beneficiaries. We've seen, unfortunately, kinsa tong duol sa Urban Poor Organization nga dili taga Talamban, dili taga Budlaan, Pananglitan, nga mo ipapuyon nga to sa kanang abalay. Unya naa pa gani one time nga ang mga donors among gipabisita nga to kay syempre Gawad Kalinga project by the Couples for Christ atong ikuan nito. There were houses, sir, nga mauwaw ka. Uy, manong dagko mo kini sila TV? They were not even kuan nga beneficiaries ba, mauwaw ta sa gitagaan na itong balay, mas gwapo pa manin akong TV, ang TV na ko sa amo 24 inch siya, naka 32 man. It goes down to the
Alam mo lagi, it's really cultural, di ba? It's really part of our culture. In fact, we had a conversation with Cabino Guerrero about the history of corruption in this country. You know, mangita mo kita kapasanginlan ang gipasanginlan namo is ang atong colonial past nga gisugdan nam taog tudlo og corruption sa mga Spaniards.
Now, kay Pao ka ang kuan lang gid nako, siguro this is a challenge to the parents and the new parents ba. I think we should start at home. This is my personal we should start at home. Educate your children. Start with the core values. Don't cheat. Ug maglabay ka kaon ka candy, wa kay nakita ang basurahan, pocket that wrapper. I mean, these are small things. I think in the future I think that's
I think that's what they do. That's how they do it in Japan, di ba? Nga the first few years of education, wala exam, di ba?
Yeah. That's the formation, the core values, and I think we should do that here in our country.
So, but you're talking about kaning the future pa, sir, sa? How about us now, kita mga medyo middle age na ta ba? Like in our remaining decades in this beautiful city of ours, like what can we do? Ikaw, sir, as an architect, unsa man imuhang mensahe sa ato ang mga kaigsuonan nga nagtanaw karon, mga fellow architects nimo og mga regular citizens too? What is your message to all of us?
Ako, after 2010 and then 2012 came 2012 katong nagtabang we looked at the plans, and then when we somehow felt that it's not going to be implemented anyway, we were really frustrated, no? Ang katong mga planners and those volunteers, so medyo nilaylo ang mga tao. Sige lang, let them be. But after the event ba, the tragic event, those same colleagues were telling me, I think we cannot take it sitting down. And the only way to walk the talk is to get involved, really to get involved. And right now I'm happy that my colleagues are saying, let's sit down, let's help the provincial government and the city government, mga municipalities na. I think that's the only thing we can do right now. That's basically murag mao na ato ma-contribute ka.
So if they had to channel their frustration, their anger, their kaning skills, asa man to ipuntariya, sir? Kay ningon sad si sorry to keep on quoting Jesse Baring, the river advocate. The reason why I'm quoting is because he was my last interview before you. So ingon siya kinahanglan ta mangita tag kaning usa ka lugar, usa ka direction sa ato ang frustration, ato ang anger, kay kung pataka lang ta og buho kuno, he likened it to drilling a hole, pataka tag kaning kaut niya basig dili gyapon ta makadot. So unsaon man sir, imong suggestion ka sa asam nato ipuntariya nga ato ang mga frustration, sir, nga makaduta?
asa man ta, ordinary na tao, no?
and architects, whatever, like the
Well, as
citizens.
the mga professional organizations right now, I think are in the business sector. Kanang mga business organizations and NGOs are actually moving man sad to help out the local government naman siguro, no, na naman sila murabag offering their hands to help. Now asa in particular, asa magsugod, na mobalik na sad ta sa kuan, unsa man ang plano sa gobyerno, asa man ang priorities. They have more data compared to the kami namo, no, kay moingon mi nga, sige tabangan na to ang Butuanon River, but we will be getting the data from the government, no? So it goes back to the kuan gyapon kanang records nga pwede na to basihan. So it's a multi kuan gyud nga
Multi-prong yun. Dili gid mahimog mura og panacea kanang cure all. Wagi na giningon ng cure all, so we have to just see what your skill sets are and then do what you do best. But I think kanang gisgotan mo sir kaning data collection, data gathering, data kaning management more importante kay na sir. And I think this country, I don't know if it's also cultural, is notorious for not being very good record keepers. You know, kanang makakita lang ka og mga salida sa or mga newspaper sa gawas nga maski ang video 19 purgatin ba to, nagay mo sa copy ato, napay transcript. Yeah, grabe kilang record keeping, baka kita diri mo di man ta maayo kay mo record keep, right? Even in the private sector, I think dili man kita maayo mo keep. Maayo ba ta? Unsa man sir, like maybe that's an area that we can probably make a dent.
Yeah, talking about engineering data nga kanang kuan, we should actually murag sugdan na nato nga kuan kay. I'll give you another example. There was an ordinance sometime 2012, 2013, I'm not sure nga i-underground na ang mga kable,
Wires,
mga wires. Approved and it was gone. Walay ni implement. But Beco started moving. They started in Osmania. Ang ilahang target was the Sinolo ground. They started digging. Mo nang example nga ug naon tay record ang city on our kanang system. Dili unta magpataka, dili unta magkinto ang taga Beco kay according to my friend who was heading Beco, bay dili lali mag-count, uy kay wa man ko kahibaw nga na adi tubig. Di na, di ba? Pag-count na ko naputol, additional gasto man to kay ako may nakasa. Now if we had the records, you know, inig-ingon nga, okay, connect ka diha kay mao na ang drainage plan sa kuan. I've done
So I guess we have to start there, right?
Yeah,
The records of the engineering plans and the architectural plans and so on and so forth, the geologic plans and the water flow and so on and so forth.
We start gathering all those data, digitize it, make it available online. You know, in New Zealand and in Australia, I've done some kay naa mo koy partner nga iyang gi kanang outsource sa mga plans diri. Ay inigbuhat mo og plano, okay kini nga particular plan. Sud ka online. Ngayo ngita kag data ani for a fee. Mukuha ka kompleto na data nga okay kini nga yuta nay niagi din nga tubo. Kini nga yuta dapat adto kamo tap ngadto sa imong drainage, adto kamo tap sa imong gas. It's there.
Public, siya, public,
It's public.
available,
course.
publicly available.
Yes, since public unya na may nagastuan na nagkeep na nga data. Of course for a fee.
Yeah.
Before you
But
get
you know, if you build a multi-billion dollar or peso
Yeah.
project, I'm sure like pila ra go na bayar na go, di ba?
Bisan og ordinaryo nga balay. Apil na mandatory na nga before ka mo submit sa OBO. Mao ni ang data nga kanang kuan para makakuha ka sa data, bayad ka. Dili masanay nga na nakamahal lang sa bayad.
Wala tay inana
We
diri.
don't have that here.
So ikaw, sir, as an architect, kung nakaka i-build panalitan, nga dako nga project panalitan, asa maka makuha data?
We base it number one sa zoning plan, no? So
Is that updated? 19
uh,
forgotten?
among kuan karon ang kanang sa Mandaue, I don't know unsa na siya nga year. But they've murag mag-update man sad sila. Nag-update man sad sila kay lain-lain man na siya ang zoning ba. Like kanang Mandani Bay bago na nga kuan. So murag ang Mandaue siguro 5 years ago murag nag-update na sila sa LUP. Cebu, we were invited, the Philippine Institute of Architects was invited a few years ago to sit down kay gusto nila i-update, but ang ilang update was to change a classification also going to Trans Central Highway kay from murag residential area siguro to nga i-convert into a commercial kuan kay dagko na ang kuan dito, but we somehow disagreed on it. I don't know kung na-approve ba nila katong reclassification, but you know constantly murag sige naman gyud na kay there's somebody who's in charge to update that. So yeah, I just don't have the kuan unsay current.
But it's not accessible digitally, so you have to go to the
You have to
physical place and grab pieces of paper, right?
Yeah.
To get the actual updated plans.
Nanay kuan, but it's more of murag macro ra gyud kayo nga kuan. So there, in fairness, Cebu City building official, they're trying to digitize na sad sa ilahang mga kuan, and it will take probably few more years to kuan. I hope with engineer, our mayor right now, Archibald, medyo after his term, hopefully he can extend another term kay 3 years ba is just too short for a good politician to, do something significant. So, yeah.
Maybe we can do something about that too. So
Yeah.
I know nga you're just as frustrated as me and the public. Nga ikaw nga medyo you have the skill set to help actually change things. I think you're even more frustrated because there's only too much you can do. After that, it's all up to the government. So daghang salamat sir sa imong expertise. Thank you for sharing it with us. I hope this won't be the last conversation, and I hope the next time we talk, it's not going to be about problems, but it's going to be about new solutions that are in the horizon. Daghang salamat mga Kigalaan architect Edwin San Nicolas.
Joe.